Yo, good morning. Good morning. What is up, my fellow Gulag members? Here we are up on another Saturday. You're tuning in. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And yeah, we're going to get started. So, manifest Negro. And what is that? It's kind of a reaction, um, not a reaction so much as um, just a philosophy that I've kind of always had, but not placed into an actual framework, right? And so the reaction is to the statement that um, um, black man, this is not your country, right? I've heard that over the years, and never sat right with me. Pardon me, never sat right with me. And I always thought to myself, well, hell, whose country is it? You got a backup country in your back pocket that you're a part of, you know, and it's part of this whole broken identity, which I mean makes an easy play, right? Makes black people just an easy play for Marxism. So, you know, it is what it is, right? But hey, good morning, Truism, Deacon Dave, Strikeout Bandit, Dominic Bright, Nee, what's up, man? The Clue Channel, Laughing Dog, Cool Kamasi, D.E. Williams, salute and good morning. Good morning. Glad to have you here. So, yeah, that never sat right with me. So, yeah, it's a particular, how should I say, um, thorn, because what else are you supposed to have? And I've always been more of a person that looks on the sacrifices made as progress rather than some sort of a sentence, you know, that you could not be a part of or were not a part of this country, which is preposterous, you know. um, the people that came before you and sacrificed for this country didn't do so you could act like some sort of a spoiled brat, you know, and thumb your nose instead of thumb your nose at this country instead of making the most of it, right? So, I just find that annoying, basically. And it's a statement of Americanness, right? Because the country has never existed without us, right? And the westward expansion, is akin, I think, to the full citizenship of the Negro. And when you have that stripped away from you, it's easy to fall for anything. Marxism, and any of these other like fake identities or contrived identities, I should say. The Negro Indians, the freaking all the identity movements, the pro-black movement, the Hoteps, the this movement, the that movement. If you have no foundation, it's easy. That's why it's so splintered. Honestly, you have a history right here, right on screen. That is Bass Reeves. That is the Buffalo Soldiers in 1905 in the top right corner. That's Bill Pickens in the top left. That's Bill Pickens in the lower left corner. Well, that's an AI picture in the lower right, but Bass Reeves top right. Right there, you've already been here. Never not been here. So, I think it is a falsehood to say that it's not your country. So, matter of fact, Yeah, I think the video's been summoned. The vi the video has been summoned. Fair use, fair use.
Sitting Bull requested this council. We await his words.
Take your soldiers out of here. They scare the game away.
Very well, sir. Tell me then, how far away should I take my men?
You must take them out of our lands.
What precisely are your lands?
These are the lands where my people lived before you whites first came.
I don't understand. We whites were not your first enemies. Why don't you demand back the land in Minnesota where the Chippewa and others forced you from years before?
The Black Hills are sacred land given to my people by Wakantonka.
Not very convenient to cloak your claims in spiritualism. And what would you say to the Mormons and others who believe that their God has given to them Indian lands in the West?
I would say they should listen to Wakantonka.
Fair use.
No matter what your legends say, you didn't sprout from the plains like the spring grasses, and you didn't coalesce out of the ether. You came out of the Minnesota woodlands, armed to the teeth, and set upon your fellow man. You massacred the Kiowa, the Omaha, the Ponca, the Oto, and the Pawnee without mercy. And yet you claim the Black Hills as a private preserve bequeathed to you by the Great Spirit.
And who gave us the guns and powder to kill our enemies? And who traded weapons to the Chippewa?
Hey, you know what that sounds like? That sounds like the CIA. Must have had the CIA. Must have infiltrated the Indians, gave them the guns.
And others who drove us from our home.
Chief Sitting Bull, the proposition that you were a peaceable people before the appearance of the white man is the most fanciful legend of all. You were killing each other for hundreds of moons before the first white stepped foot on this continent. You conquered those tribes, lusting for their game and their lands, just as we have now conquered you for no less noble a cause.
This is your story of my people.
This is the truth, not legend. Crazy Horse has surrendered with his entire band.
Hey, you know, black men were in this army. Just FYI.
And by his surrender, he says to you and your people that you are defeated. And by ceding the Black Hills to us, so say Red Cloud and the other chiefs who demand that you end this war and take your place on the reservation.
Red Cloud is no longer a chief. He is a woman you have mounted and had your way with. Do not speak to me of Red Cloud!
I suppose you are the only chief then. Sitting Bull is king of all the Indians. Humility, one of the 4 virtues of a Sioux chief. Sitting Bull shows his true nature now.
I have had my say with you.
And I have had my say with you.
Then we will have a fight.
So be it.
So be it. So be it. So, westward expansion. Guess who participated? Everybody. Right? Everybody participated. Wasn't like westward expansion was limited. I mean, heck, when was that? When did start in 1812? But I'm trying to remember when. I think right after the Spanish American, was it the Mexican American War, that California territory was ceded. And matter of fact, yeah, because my people, my mom's side she was born and raised in San Diego, like born. So like we're talking the 1940s. 1940s. And I actually looked up the census in 1960. San Diego was only 2% black people. So there was none of this not participating and not being a full citizen, right? There was none of this, oh, this ain't your country. Well, what the hell? It's foolishness. Foolishness. My people bought a house in the 1950s that we own to this day. So this whole idea that you are not part of America is dumb. Dumb. I mean, and matter of fact, other people don't think that. You know? And the people, when you hear just people casually talking about the West and like rooting against the West, like, you're watching football all day Sunday. Fool, you are the West. Fool, you are the West. That you are it, right? That is who you are. There's no exemption, none of that BS. You are the West. So if it falls, you fall. There's no like exemption. Like particularly the son listened to on Dr. Thunderstream. He said how the Vietnamese had political officers who would say, "Oh, this is not your fight, black man." Well, if America was somehow red dawned, right? What do you think would happen to black people? Huh? If North Korea, if you could Thanos snap North Korea in control of America, what do you think would happen to black people? No, you think it'd be us against the whites? I don't think so. You would lose. You would absolutely lose. So, yeah, that whole thing just it's irritating, And some of the, the characteristics, right? The manifest Negro is military service and appreciation, American patriotism, not a Marxist, right? Not a programmed proletariat. Doesn't see doesn't see America through the prism of color. And I say that because actually I should play that clip again. Let me find that. But in the meantime, I'm going to put this in the chat. This is a great video. Just watch this today. Y'all take a look at that in your leisure. No, Deacon Dave, it wasn't Dr. Thunder's position that we do not belong. I'm just saying in general. Yeah, the rebuttal to Dr. Thunder has not happened yet. But I'm just saying in general. Right, the characteristics of that mindset are just poison. I mean, who does that attract? You see people who say this are some sort of pro-black, and who do you attract with the message that this ain't your country? Someone who's going to build something? Someone who is going to supposedly build, quote unquote, the black community? Someone who's attracted to that message is not doing that. They're just not. Matter of fact, here's a good Oh, anyway. So yeah. But just a few notes, man. That irritated me. So, oh, and that's the other thing. That's what I want to show here. Let me show this. I'll show this again. I think I did this in the last stream, but oh, Memphis. So so black people are integrated. Newsflash. All right, so here is Memphis in the racial dot map. And here is the key, right? Orange is black, blue is non-Hispanic white population, pink is Hispanic, right? So we're going to talk about this integration real quick. All right. And you know, y'all know I love my map. So what we're going to do real quick is sort for price. Let's call it 300,000, apply. Okay. So now, what do you see? 300,000 and up, no homes in here, right? And this is the black area, right? No homes up here, but there are homes over here. Oh, look like black people live over there. So these areas have a high black density and more expensive homes. Matter of fact, this in particular this area is majority black. And gosh darn it, if there aren't some very nice homes in this area. So black people are thoroughly integrated, right? The perception of nothing but poor people in Memphis is incorrect, right? Very much so. This majority black area has plenty of nice homes, over $300,000, right? That are very much juxtaposed against South Memphis, right? Oh, this is acreage. Come on, get out of there. So that's how integrated black people are. And this is any city, right? And I've done this before. You can pretty much go to any city. You can do this in, let's see, let's do it in Mobile, Alabama. Right? Mobile, Alabama. You don't do the same. So here's the homes. Here's where the homes aren't. And this is where black people immigrated. So these areas with nicer homes are actually majority black, right? So when they talk about like the black agenda, the black this, the black that, dude, these people don't have anything in common. There is no black agenda per se. Black people are already segregated into classes. So a lot of times when I look at this, it's just like, what are you talking about? Like black people that live over here, right? And black people that live over here are completely different. They don't have the same issues. And, you know, this whole um, trying to group people by race when on the ground reality is extreme integration seems foolish to me because there's no sharing of interest. There just isn't. This is you can do this anywhere in the U.S. Richmond, Virginia. Where's Richmond? Virginia? Not me. Richmond, Virginia. Well, okay. All right. Where are the houses at that are over 400,000? All right, look at your racial dot map. Same thing. But what are you going to find? You're still going to find a large concentration of black people in nicer areas. Always. Always. It's any city, right? There's no agenda here, right? The real question is, how do people get from here to here, right? The age old, the plain common sense question of, well, what are these people doing that these people aren't doing? Seems obvious to me, but let's see. Maybe I'll hit this later, man. Oh, and to the point, man, there is, well, some of you are familiar with Anton Daniels, but this guy, for someone who practices, some guy who practices a very conservative nuclear family lifestyle, his channel has a lot of effery on it. I'll tell you that. Oh, darn it. Come on.
You're dating a new guy.
There we go. So this seems wild to me, right? Wild.
He has a kid. You go to his people's house.
Because look, the dichotomy is this dude is married, nuclear family, got married young, had his daughter, goes to private school, and is nothing like the family situations over here.
For the holiday, you get there and the baby mama is there just kikiing with everybody. Is that an issue?
Like, what are they talking about? Like, this is absolutely foreign to me. Right, Glue, King of the Tards. I don't get it. I absolutely don't get it. Like, it is the weirdest thing because, the family situations on the rest of the show have nothing to do with being a nuclear family. And really what I got from this is like, dude, there is no way. There's no knowledge of how to be a nuclear family in the black community, right? You talk about it and it's like it's an attack on how they live. They are fundamentally connected to the dysfunction, right? This is dysfunction as entertainment, right? Dysfunctional wisdom. Oh, I had, what do you mean? Pool. Yeah, it's like, what are you doing? It's crazy. That's why That's why I'm an unapologetic classist. I don't let my family anywhere near this. And I've been this way for a long time, man. It wasn't really, I used to think, hey, I don't know any black Democrats in real life, but it wasn't because I was avoiding black Democrats. It's just the way I live my life is not like I'm not around this at all. Right. Just trying to get better day by day. And it's like, dude, it's crazy. Mm-mm. Nope, 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 nope. Nope, nope, nope. And this one, man. This one I couldn't get into. If y'all remember fair use. Y'all remember this? Okay. This was a few weeks ago. And this whole debate was just nuts, man. It was like somebody from Mars, was arguing with somebody from a different galaxy. Like, it makes absolutely no sense. Makes absolutely no sense. And I don't, man, where is this one clip? Oh, here it is. Let me play this.
Yeah, I mean,
everything goes into the same bank account. Yeah. All of our salaries just go into the same bank account.
And what about when you guys go out? Who pays for what?
it all comes out of the same account, so we split the funding, yeah.
So this might be a little spicy, but do you guys have separate accounts at all?
No.
Not really, no.
So you share everything?
Yeah.
And how does it go when you want to purchase something new or big, or how do you guys work that out?
I mean, defining big, I guess we talk about it.
We do. We have a conversation about like, hey, is this something that we need, or is this something like that you have desperately
Conversations, what are those?
been wanting? And then we kind of just have the conversation of like, is it worth coming into our lives?
How about when you guys were dating? Who was paying for like dates and vacations and stuff?
I think we split it.
Half. Yeah. Split.
What is the real cost of love to you? Like, what is it? Can you give it a number? Maybe like a yearly allowance for love.
Be cheesy and just say priceless.
Is that what you want to go for?
Yes.
All right. The cost of love is priceless, guys.
Bro, it's like they don't get it. It's a nuclear family. Like, getting along in a relationship is totally alien. Like real people. Like, oh my, what do you mean we split it? We split everything. We pool our resources and get ahead. What is that? Meanwhile, these Negroes are arguing over 50-50. Like, these they're confused. Like, I don't know what are you saying? I don't even know what you're saying. Who pays for what? Like, they work together. And here's the thing, man. It's learning from other people. Because my parents were divorced, so I figured I didn't know much about being married. So I actually sought out friends who were successfully married, and I looked at their relationships, and also mentors who were married and had a life like I wanted, and was like, okay, well, I'll just do that, And I realized recently that is such a blessing, wisdom, right? Being able to just make a decision without even making a decision. I recently realized there are so many things I don't do because they're bad decisions that I don't even think about. It's almost like it happens autonomously. Like, oh, should I do this or this? And I picked the better option as a matter of habit and almost instinct, and it doesn't even, it's weird. Like, even, when I talk all the time about how I investigated middle and upper middle class neighborhoods and so forth. And what I saw a lot of were homes with like older foreign cars, like a Honda or a Toyota. And then they have a nicer car, like a little family car, not station wagon, but like an SUV, right? You see like a Range Rover and a Camry, right? And that's exactly what's in my driveway. That is just the power of programming. So Let me get to this rebuttal. And shout out to Doc Thunder. Okay. Darn it, hold on. Gotta share. Shoot. I need a producer.
Hit 28 million. So they did it because they were racist against me. That's what he's saying. Now look, some of it actually could be true, that perhaps maybe more of the money could have gone to him, but maybe it was because they disagreed with him and they see him as a race hustler, and he's actually lucky he got 350K given the lack of reach that his organization has.
Top white firm with 280 million, 10 times more. See, I can go on and on and on.
Yeah, so that's Roland Martin's idea of the black struggle, right? That somehow, some way, he's a victim, even though he is a multimillionaire. Okay, he's a.
See, this is one of the most frequent arguments that gets used, that I find problematic. It's effective, but I find it to be problematic. Is you isolate black folks that are wealthy, and you say, "See, there's no racism problem." See, the reason that this isn't working is because y'all are all lazy. The reason that the black community ain't doing well is because y'all ain't got no agency, right? It's 100% no agency. It's 100% y'all don't exercise what you could do. Y'all are lazy. Y'all are dusty. And you don't know no better.
A victim because he doesn't make as much money as he believes that he should be making, considering the fact that he owns a black media network. But see, what Roland Martin doesn't understand is that the ad buyers are not discriminating against you because you're black. They're discriminating against you because your network is tiny, right?
Now that is true. Now what he's saying right here is true. The issue is that the size of the organization is the problem. It's not because you black.
You do not have a large enough audience to justify spending hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on ads on your channel, right? You just don't have the juice that you think that you have. Also on top of that, your market is extremely niche. One, you claim that your target audience is black people. That's only 13% of the population. And then once you break,
I mean, there's truth to what this guy's saying. Okay, when you start going down through the numbers, he's probably lucky he got 350K.
break it down even further, this guy clearly doesn't want black conservatives to watch his show, to watch his network. So he's really targeting black liberals, which breaks it down even further. Also considering the fact that I would
not by much though, right?
Say that a lot of black people in this country aren't necessarily interested in political commentary and watching the news. I'm not saying none are interested. I'm just saying that's just not a part of a majority of the content that black people consume. They tend to consume. Yeah, you have a very, very, very tiny niche audience, and you've done that to yourself because essentially you have said that, hey, I only really want to target black people. And when you do that, yeah, it becomes a lot harder for a company to come in and say, hey, let me invest in this so-called black-owned media network because the market is just not.
Be problematic is you isolate black folks that are wealthy and you say, see, There's no racism problem. See, the reason that this isn't working is because y'all are all lazy.
Oh, sorry. So the lazy always have an advocate. They do. Oh, it's just because you're lazy. And look, there is something going on here that has nothing to do with being black. Right? Nothing to do with being black down here, because you have plenty of wealthy blacks in the Memphis area. They all live in Eads. And it's kind of funny how they just use white folks as like a buffer. They're like, we're moving all the way on the other side. Forget you ninjas. Right? And you can look at the numbers. The majority of people in this area, right, are black. The vast majority. Whoops. So, right? These are nice places to live. Right? These are not struggling black folk. Thousands of black people doing just fine in a city as abysmal. Hey, what's up, conservative? Fun with maps, sir. Right? Living. Oh God. How are they going to make it? How are you making it? Right? Black people who are living in this area living better than the average American, right, in the Memphis area. When would that be national news? Never. Because black people have to be characterized as somehow broke and struggling and everything else. Chill out. Acreage, bro. It's probably about an acre. My God, how are they making it? So it's not isolating just a few wealthy people, right? There are plenty of wealthy people, plenty of black people doing well. Matter of fact, let me show you this. Come on, here it is. So, right, fully 20%, 11%, 4%, 5%. That's 20%. Fully on 20% of black households are making $100,000 plus. And here you have the disparity, 53% under $50,000, right? You're talking almost 20 points higher than whites. It's almost 30 points higher than Asians. The reason is they don't marry. Single households are broke households. So what are they doing here that they aren't doing here in South Memphis? That's being married.
The reason that the black community ain't doing well is because y'all ain't got no agency, right? It's 100% no agency. It's 100% y'all.
I say 99.9% y'all don't get married.
Y'all don't exercise what you could do. Y'all are lazy. Y'all are dusty. And you don't know no better.
A victim because he doesn't make as much money as he believes that he should be making, considering
Fast forward a little bit.
He is biased, and there is an incentive for him to hold certain opinions based on what his platform, who he.
Yeah, of course he's biased. Everybody is. Nobody is unbiased. I am biased. If you're listening to this, guess what? I'm biased. Right? I am biased.
Speaking to, yeah.
The Black News Channel, you guys remember that? The Black News Channel? That was a thing a couple years ago. Failed. And I said it would fail because.
See, this part of it, I don't think this is a good look.
Now, why is this not a good look? Right? I think the bad look seems to be that you're not on Team Black if you, openly mock it. The Black News Network, who's it going to be? Roly-poly, freaking, and all these other crazy Black Democrats. I mean, of course it's going to fail, and I'm going to laugh at it. I'll take all the bad looks.
You just don't have a large enough target audience. Okay.
Now, that's true. It may be that they don't have a large enough target audience.
Okay. Roland Martin is not pulling in 100,000 people that are simultaneously watching his news channel all day long. He's not doing that. So you shouldn't get paid like you do.
I don't think I'm misconstruing what he's saying. I'm talking about underlying bias and how that may animate his opinion. That's what I'm talking about. And again, unless you think that this guy
let me fast forward.
Is all facts all the time and he has no bias and he just is seeing
what they do. Okay. Because again, they ain't got nothing else to talk about. They have nothing else. His whole business model is making Black people feel like they're victims. Okay, and RFK coming out and saying, no, you're not a victim, that you can overcome. Racism is not holding you back. That is a direct threat to his business, right? Roland Martin's business. Because people like him wouldn't have relevance. They wouldn't be able to make money if they couldn't sell the whole Black.
Oh, by the way, the death of the Negro Wrangler just gives me so much pleasure. I mean, it is hard for me to put into words how satisfying it is to see the freak out of the Angela Rye's, the Roland Martins, all the Black race hustlers, right? Even who's that Chink Yogurt even went ahead and criticized Al Sharpton. It's glorious.
Black people are victims narrative. But
now that's true. That's that race hustler part of this.
What RFK said, again, was 100% correct. You have two options in life, right? If you are a so-called Black person, okay, and you're worried about racism, you can succumb to it, right? You can say, oh, the white man is too strong. I can't do it, right? And you can just not even try, which means that you will fail. And boohoo, whining, and crying, and complaining is not going to change the circumstances, right? That's not going to make the white man stop being racist, okay?
What's happening, Link?
This idea that boohoo, whining, and crying is going to make the white man get his boot off your neck is nonsense, right?
Okay, now I am going to say this. That's a straw man. So even to those so-called race hustlers, that's not how they would describe what it is that they're doing, what they're saying. Right. So that's not a fair representation of what of this sort of caricature. So he's created a sort of caricature of this position. Right. And then
how is that a straw man? That is not exactly what they're doing. Right. They sell, whether they're selling specific, it's the white. Matter of fact, how is it? It's like they say it without saying it. Right? Because complaining about the white man just sounds gay. So then it became white supremacy, which still sounds gay. Then it became dominant society, all trying to say the same thing. Because you know what? When the water, when they had lead in the water in Flint, whose fault was that? When the water got shut off in Jackson, whose fault was that? Wasn't their fault. When Jackson couldn't pick up its trash, whose fault was that? Matter of fact, who was that? The Scorpion unit in Memphis ended up killing a Black man that I think the rumor was he was having sex with one of the cop's ex. People were on here talking about that's just white supremacy. Like, what? Come on.
that one is easy to defeat, right? Including the boohoo, whining and crying, even including that part, because it's easy to defeat that. It's harder to defeat someone that did all the stuff that they're supposed to do, worked hard, and when they get to a certain place of prominence, reflect back on issues that they faced, wanting to improve those things for future generations, and then addressing those things.
Okay, well, what are those issues? You know, issues is a nebulous term. What are those issues specifically? Right? See, and here's one of the keys: the difference between narrative and actually, let me go backwards. So, if y'all remember when Pearl Davis, right, said that slavery is exaggerated, I think she was wrong. It's not exaggerated; it is a narrative. And when you have a narrative, you have to be purposely ambiguous and purposely nebulous, right? The context of, or the narrative of slavery in America depends on a very, very specific set of facts, right? Once you add in other facts, it tends to destroy the given narrative, right? Kind of like you've never seen winter in a slave movie, right? You've never seen a slave go work in a blacksmith shop in a slave movie, or carpentry, or build a road, or do anything else. It's perpetually picking cotton. So it requires a specific narrative. And when you get down to what are those issues, what are the issues? What are they? You know? Is it the pathology of a culture that looks down on progress? Is that one of them?
Right? I'm sure he would probably call those folks boohoo whiners and criers also.
So what are the issues?
But there's a difference between that and someone like Roland Martin, who's exploiting people that have no agency or not actually doing anything. He's exploiting those folks. He's giving them a sort of, he's giving them a sort of a voice, or as it were, when they haven't actually done anything.
And this is why I don't understand these individuals who think that the system is systemically racist and that they're trying to hold black people back, okay? And that there's this whole cabal of white individuals that are doing this to black people on purpose, but yet they...
Yeah, there is. It's the they, right? Whenever they invoke the they, whenever they invoke the dominant society, right? It's a mysterious they.
I think that the white man somehow, some way, for some reason, is going to stop doing that, right? Again, it's ridiculous. It's nonsense. But your other option is, to equip yourself to do exactly what RK said, to educate yourself, to gain skills, to look for role models, to do everything you can do to overcome it, right?
Okay, so I agree that essentially what he just said is what RFK was saying, except for part of what RFK was also saying was you need to provide that for them. You can't just say, get it out the mud.
And there it is, right? Right? You have to provide it for them. At some point, it always comes back to having an external locus of control and an external pathology that has to come in and unfuck you.
You can't just say, pull up harder on your bootstraps. You actually have to give them a support mechanism by which to pull up on their bootstraps. Okay, now look, if I give you the boots and if I give you the platform, now it's going to be on you to pull up on your bootstraps. I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with you got no boots, you got no straps, you got no leverage, you got no infrastructure, you got nothing to push off of. Now get out there and be somebody. And then if you're not successful, don't complain about it.
Oh, we just barefoot out here.
See, that's
barefoot and broke.
What's happening, Friedman's Journal?
Right.
Again, it's both and. It's not an either or. The reason that both are wrong is because, they're both wrong, but they're wrong in different ways. But the reason that they're both wrong is because it's a both and. It's not an either or. It's a both and, not an either or.
Be a victim to it. You don't have to succumb to racism as an obstacle to your success. You don't have to. There's plenty of black people who have overcome racism.
Hold on, here's what I asked. Oh, chat replay. Come on. Darn it. See if I can reload it.
It's not an either or. It's a both and, not an either or.
Yeah, here we go. Okay, so here's what I ask, right? So here's what I asked is, what is community college for? The rich and famous? And here's community colleges in Memphis. Southwest Tennessee Community College. Right, Southwest Tennessee Community College, Southwest Community College. These are all in black areas, by the way. So this is South Memphis. And here you go. And actually, there's another one. Wait, there was one more over here. Darn it, when I did this earlier. So, and there are also the trade schools, right? So this idea, right, there's this narrative, right? You got to have a narrative that you ain't got no boots and no straps and you just barefoot in the gutter. Well, what is community college for? Right? The rich and famous? That's how I did it. So to the point of, well, you've done it and come back and what challenges did you overcome? I just went to community college. That's it. Right? Easily affordable while working an entry-level job, and got the basis of the skills that brought me to where I am today, period. That's it. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy.
Be a victim to it. You don't have to succumb to racism as an obstacle to your success. You don't have to. There's plenty of black people who have overcome racism and have become extremely successful. Extremely successful. I mean, you had a black person, right? For this video, we're going to say that Barack Obama's black. I mean, he's African, but racism is supposed to affect everybody, right? So again, you had a so-called black man become president.
Okay, this is not a good argument. What's happening, David Drescher? This is not a good argument. Pointing at an outlier is not a good argument. And many of the things that ADOS folks are complaining about or have pointed out as issues do not have an impact or the same kind of impact on folks from other countries, melanated folks from other countries. So,
see, and that's the whole, they didn't go through slavery, right? That's just another way to say they didn't have slavery. But let's check that out. Are we talking about outliers? Are we? So I just showed you Eads, Tennessee, which is full of wealthy blacks and big, nice homes. Let's see, where is, here it is, Atlanta. Okay, now here you have East Point, College Park, the SWATs, right? Southwest Atlanta, ghetto, right? But you have all these other places that are not ghetto. All right, where is this? Lawrenceville, not ghetto. Where is Northwood Hills? So living over here by this country club, right? Not ghetto. Mostly black people over here, living in a nice area. Are these outliers? Is this entire neighborhood of outliers? Is that what we're doing? Just a whole neighborhood, it's nothing but poverty and a single millionaire. Is that the narrative we're going with? Let me see, where is Sandy Springs? Here it is. So Sandy Springs, the elite neighborhood, right? Sandy Springs. Right, this neighborhood is about 20% black. Right, Sandy Springs is privatized. They got a lot of privatized services. Black people are about 20% of that neighborhood. Outliers? I would say it is normal for black people to achieve middle class. This area, Sandy Springs, is about 50% black. These pockets up here, even more so. So what are we talking about?
Yeah. I mean, that's not a good argument. And because you put somebody in office, so you have this tokenism thing that the Democrats do, and they do this constantly to try to indicate that, see, there's no actual problem with racism. See, look, this is what we're actually doing for you. Now, simultaneously, they race hustle. So they're race hustling you, but they're also putting tokens in. They're playing both against the middle.
So you succeed your token, unless you have the right morality, which is going to come up later.
What's happening, Charles Keys Sr.? What's happening, Kings and Queens?
That happened if the country's so racist, and that's what's holding all black people back. You have black billionaires.
Okay, again, isolating outliers is not an indication of a healthy system. You can't say, okay, look, you got celebrities, you got a couple billionaires, you got athletes. Look, they're balling out of control. Yeah, but still.
Okay. Waiting for this part. Where is... here we are. Okay. So, it's just athletes, right? Is that what we're doing here? Oh, where'd that page go? Darn it. Oh, okay, here it is. So, black millionaires in the U.S. Okay. So, according to one source, the U.S. has approximately 1.5 million black millionaires. Right? 1.5 million. So, what would you estimate the number of millionaires, like of that 1.5 million black millionaires, which is current, right? How many were made through sports and entertainment? Right. So we're talking, hey, what's up, D Scott? I see you in there. Free Zone, salute, True Hype, American Negro News. What up? See y'all headed in. Thank you. Hit the like on your way in. God, I always forget that. Hit the like on your way in. Subscribe. Share. Beat the algorithm. All right. So outliers. Are 1.5 million black millionaires an outlier? Is Barack Obama an outlier? Of course, President of the United States. Are millionaires in general? No. Matter of fact, there are black. Here's the thing. The only way that you have this chart and have black people as a whole even semi-competitive in the aggregate average income, right? The average or median household income is that the people over here are really killing it, right? The people who are on the 200,000 plus have to be killing it to drag this 53% under 50,000. There's no other way that would make sense that black people are even competitive in household income. The only way. There's no way they could be without it. Right? So as 1.5 millionaires, there's a lot of people making a lot of money. So let's say how many are actually millionaires via sports? Like 50,000 maybe? Maybe? Let's see. Wait, where did I had that up? Darn it. Oh, it's the first tab. All right. So, okay, so here we go. So look, and matter of fact, millionaires via sports is recent. Average NFL income 1980, right? The average NFL salary in 1980 was 78,000. So the NFL was not making millionaires in 1980. It didn't start doing that till 1990, I believe. Right? Right, the same survey. That's 82 survey. So Saints from the Cowboys had a player who made over $900,000. Right. Lastly, the Steelers, the entire team salary for 1990 was 13.1 million. So that's relatively new. So total millionaires created out of 1.5 currently, maybe 50,000, maybe. That's on the high side. So we're talking all the rosters of the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, and all the entertainers that were created by being millionaires, right? Actors and all that. You think that's even 50? I don't even think that adds up to 50,000 out of 1.5 million blacks. So you're talking 1.5 million. So 150,000 is 1%. So a third of 1% of black millionaires are in entertainment and athletes, maybe. So that's the outlier. The outlier is saying that all black millionaires only are created through sports and entertainment, right? That is the incorrect assumption.
Black folks are disproportionately represented in poverty.
Exactly. They are. Why are they? Let's look at that, right? And this is the thing that sitting at the finish line and comparing the results without comparing the starting position is a fraudulent argument in and of itself. So how are you supposed to have the same outcome when the bastardy rate in the black community is 70.1%? And you already know the statistics for single parent homes, especially single parent female raised homes. There is no other destination besides leading in poverty. Zero. Which is like, oh, well, why is that? How did that happen? More than hand scissors. All groups got women. All welfare was available to all groups, right? But when you add the ability to have a baby without a man to a gynocracy, that's what happens. Now I can accept going back to slavery and saying, hey, black women weren't brought here to be your wives. It was just breeding, yada, yada, yada. That's fine, right? But this idea that there's some perpetual thumb on the scales is hogwash.
Okay, so you're going to have to address those. Okay, and Rael, why do black people have leaders? You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious? Black folks are the only ones with leaders.
Because they're slaves. Because they have slave morality. They look for someone else to save them. Because they aren't part of the country. They're being taken care of by others. It's not the dominant society. It's still the dominant society, right? All road leads back to the dominant society. And that's for asking questions without answering them, is for the reader to fill in what you want, right? So to get the answer that you want to that question, it depends highly on the framing. So you frame it, ask it, and then the listener is supposed to fill in your desired answer.
Only ones that have leaders. And why do we have leaders? To control us. That's why. Right? And if one of our leaders gets out of line, you can take him out, right? And the leader can say all the stuff that the dominant society wants them to be saying to keep us compliant, keep us within a certain perspective.
You see, it's no agency. The dominant society tells these niggas to keep you in line. So you have no agency. There's always a man behind the curtain. It's like the Wizard of Oz. Oz, the great and powerful, is behind the curtain. And you know what? I swear, if being in the dominant society was a crime, no one would ever be convicted. Right? Doc Thunder couldn't convict anybody because there's never enough detail to do that, never enough specifics. Somehow the dominant society is causing all of the black middle class that work for the city to keep the other blacks down somehow. That's the dominant society's doing. Those people have no agency. The mayor, right? His cabinet, his staff, the teachers, right? Black kids can't read. Dominant society's doing that. They have no part in it.
Right? Tell me who are your white leaders. Tell me who are your white leaders. And just because you're a politician, that doesn't make you a leader of the community. They treat you like white folks treat you like you're their employee. Like you're supposed to be representing them, but that they're the leader. How come black folks have leaders? Why are we propping up black leaders? Why do we need black leaders? Stuff is hogwash.
You have black millionaires. You have black people that are starting to.
Okay, so how many of those black millionaires are not athletes and celebrities?
Oh, I don't know, about 97%.
Successful businesses that are getting ahead in this country, and a vast majority of them aren't sitting around crying, woe is me, oh, it's racist.
What's happening to Mr. Rogers' neighborhood?
The white man holding me back, blah, blah, blah. No. They're just plowing ahead. And again, I'm not saying that racism isn't an obstacle, but it's not an obstacle that can't be overcome.
Anubis nailed it. Because slaves need to be led. That's right. Thank you, Anubis, for being in here. Good to see you. Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, what's happening?
And this is the crazy part about it. This is something a lot of people don't like to hear, but it's the honest God truth.
Now, and I said that in the chat, right? And black people are disproportionately not married. That is not the government business. That is not the government business unless you want to remove the subsidies that allow Keisha to recklessly reproduce.
Stuff like this is why all these other immigrant groups that come into this country, they're laughing at black folks. They're laughing at black people like Roland Martin. Because they're like, hey, we come over here and in 1 or 2 generations, we've already become upper middle class, right?
Yeah, but what creates that? Why is that?
See, that open-ended question, right? Answer the question.
And that would be the discussion. That would be the discussion.
Here's the thing. All immigrant groups outperform the native group. New Chinese immigrants outperform Chinese people that have been here since the railroad. That's just the way it is. In all groups, right? Australians that immigrate to America do better than other whites. White Australians, right? White people from England who come to America do better than their white counterparts. It's true of everybody, right? So the answer to the question is supposed to be slavery, but if it applies to all groups, how can it be slavery?
We've already passed you. Y'all been here forever, and you still can't figure it out. You still boo-hoo, whine, and cry about white supremacy when the white man and racism and all this stuff didn't hold him back. And this is why in private college.
Yeah, because it's not that, because you're thinking of it. So you have a flawed view of what the argument actually is. He is constantly beating up that straw man.
Conversations amongst all these people, right, including the Africans, who also, by the way, again, for this very reason, this is why they don't like being associated with black folks, right? They're all laughing. They're laughing at black people like Roland Martin who say stuff like this, right? They're laughing because they're like, how have you guys not figured this out? How have black people not figured out how to get ahead in a country like this, the land of opportunity, the best place on earth to be black, but you still cry while everybody else, all the other races are getting ahead, but you still boo-hoo, whine, and cry about the white man and white supremacy? Didn't hold him back.
100%. 100%. He's all about, it's like I said, I'm not saying 100% because I agree with him right now, by the way.
Good to see your TikTok. 100. 100. Happy belated. Musical notes. Microphone.
Thank you for that support. See, the issue here is the problem in the ADOS community is not the same as problems that would be in other communities. It's one of the reasons
See, what is the problem though? What is it?
why I'm not a fan of inclusion. I'm more of a fan of be specific about what the problem that you're working on and laser focus on it until it disappears, and then move to something else. Because when you try to put everybody in the same category, nobody is adequately served, but in particular, DEI is code for screw the black guy. So we know how that actually works, who actually ends up being pushed to the bottom. All right. Pushed to the bottom, black men and boys in particular pushed to the bottom in that dynamic.
Okay, let me hip you Negroes to DEI real quick. Listen. All right. Where is that? Okay. So what is okay, so let me go backwards a little bit. Right. Dang, where's the stream? So let me give you guys the DEI right quick. All right. DEI is simply an attempt to reform the hierarchy of the 70s, right? And what is that? What does that mean? So Jordan Peterson, I'm sure many people are familiar with him, but he came out with the dominance hierarchy, which he then started calling the competence hierarchy, right? But there exists another hierarchy. It is the incompetence hierarchy, right? The incompetence hierarchy is what came to live off of black poverty, black indolence, right? Black dysfunction is big business, right? Do I have that up here? Oh, I don't have that clip. Darn it. But it's big business. I mean, there has been trillions spent, right? An entire bureaucracy has been created, right, for the simple purpose of handing out money to black people. Like, that's it. That's what it does. So in the 70s, you had basically white people running it, right? And you had black people as the patrons. But over time, nothing changed. And one of the excuses was, well, we need black people running it. If black people magic will somehow produce better results than white people who will run the programs. So basically, that is all gone, right? There is no room for like non-black people to administer any of this aid, right? So DEI is an attempt to have the incompetence hierarchy of progressive whites have jobs and industry and things to do, and have black people as the patrons. That's it. That is it. So what happened is they see the programming, the Marxist programming of the civil rights era wearing off, right? And that is concerning because they can't get any more votes, right? The younger you get, the more Republican black people become, right? So if you look at this chart, that black Republicans, lean Republican goes from 9 to 28. Dude, in 30 to 49 is currently at 38. That is ridiculous. In 10 years, when these people die off, the black vote is going to do nothing but become more Republican. So DEI, CRT, all this, it's all cultural Marxism, right? To get these numbers back in order. That's all it is. And of course, the cultural programming of the Marxism is, hey, we got to be, what we're here to be is anti-white. So how do you control people via that is what happened to affirmative action at Harvard, right? Their actual argument in court was, hey, if we don't limit the Asians, then, the blacks won't have spots, right? That's all they had to say. And then what? Black people started barking like they're trained to bark. That's it. Oh, they thought they was going to get us and and like, bro, listen, man. Listen. Look, this group in the blue is not competing with this group down here at the bottom. That's not happening. This group is going to displace this group. All right, but here we go with this nonsense. Right, and they were crowing about this. Oh, isn't going to scare a college campus, but Asians genuinely thought that getting affirmative action overturned would decrease admissions to black students. No, they didn't. No, it would be impossible for these people to compete with these people. And just the audacity to make that claim in court, right? The white spots are cool. Nothing's going to happen there, but we're going to have less blacks. And what do black people do? They got the command to bark and they barked. Right? But what actually happened? Right? Black enrollment falls at Columbia. Top schools after affirmative action ruling. Now what? Uh-oh. You mean it wasn't uniform across the board that Asians had less? Nope. Because I guess not everybody got the memo. And to that end, I'll say this: California, when they got rid of affirmative action, they had different results for like a couple of years, and they just basically reinstituted affirmative action by other means, and they went back to their normal percentages. I mean, I read an article like 20 years ago on this topic that without a racial bias, like the UC system in California would be 70% Asian without it. So anyway, at Columbia, the share of black students fell from 20 to 12%, 11 to 3%. Right. So, but it wasn't uniform, right? So what happened at these schools? Oh, Asian enrollment at top colleges, Princeton, Yale, Duke, down. So really what happened is black folks, again, can't see the forest for the trees. They're protecting the left flank of mediocre progressives at these universities. Why? Just throwing themselves in front of it because all they needed was to tell them that, oh, Asians don't like you. And that's what they go do. So, anywho, so that's the point of DEI. That's the whole point, right? The incompetence hierarchy is on its last legs. And so they need to try to reform that. And that's what DEI is about. It's that cultural Marxism. So, without blacks as a dependent class, and I don't know how many times I got to show the black middle class to get that message across. But without that, there's really no need for them. Why do you need these people? Right? Now, a person with slave morality cannot be saved at this point. I refuse to do it. They're here to be exploited, and they are complicit in their own exploitation. Correct. Because I can guarantee you that, like Jackson, right, is not going to fix itself. It can't. A culture of slave morality is not going to just go away. They're not going to all of a sudden gain some agency and say, you know what, we can actually balance the budget. You know, not going to happen. What will happen is they will holler for the white man to come fix them. And I guarantee you it will be some white people that come in there and basically tell them what to do. Guarantee it. Because slave morality cannot be fixed. So that is DEI in a nutshell. Supporting it is just cutting your own throat and empowering the incompetence hierarchy to rule over you. All right. Cheryl.
So that's why I'm not an advocate for that. So, but he's making the same mistake. He's just doing it as a way to defeat this straw man that he keeps presenting. Right? By including all of these folks from other countries, from different communities, and saying, hey, see, they can do well. How come you dusty ninjas can't do well? See, that's the problem. And it's interesting because it's very similar.
Yeah, why can't you do well? I mean, that's a valid question. Why can't you? No, because they have kids out of wedlock. They don't get married. They don't finish high school. Right? Brookings Institute, 3 things. Graduate high school, don't have kids out of wedlock, and get married. You have a 75% chance of not ending up in poverty. Same rocket science.
Similar to the divestors argument, right? Because what the divestors does is the divestor says, hey, I'm doing fine, though government is disproportionately propping them up. They got more grant money. They got more easier access to the educational system.
Listen, man, just because someone is getting something doesn't make it harder on you. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, you know, Keisha gets this and Keisha gets that. Seems like such an unmanly argument, in my opinion.
They're doing this thing on easy mode. Ninjas are doing it on all Madden mode. And then they look down their nose at you like you're dusty and tell you to pull up harder on your bootstraps. You cannot produce something out of nothing. You need resources for that.
See, you need to have an external, right? You need to have something externally to save you. You need to have quote unquote resources. As if, what is community college if not a resource? A very cheap one.
And if the support has disproportionately gone to the women in LGBT in your community, then those are going to be the ones that are going to be able to produce more results with respect to, you know, specific criteria.
Look, and here's the thing, man. Are they really producing more results? I mean, there are 650,000 more married black men than black women. What results are they producing? Most of these bras are in freaking poverty. Right? Poverty. Oh, we're most enrolled, most in debt. I mean, what is that? God, I wish I had it handy. The stat about black woman's net worth being like $5 by 2030. Something like that. It's like, man, what?
With respect to specific criteria, more advanced degrees, and whatnot, disproportionate representation in academia. There's a long list of things that we could talk about, but I think you get my point. So that's the problem with this argument. It's using the same fallacious reasoning as DEI is using.
Everyone is scared to say anything about that, Doc.
Thank you, Ghetto User 49. And it's interesting also because when people take issue with my argument, they're almost always misconstruing what it is that I'm saying. Because I am no advocate of race hustling, or nor am I an advocate of just cry about it, just whine, and then that'll work. I'm telling everyone on an individual basis, you must eliminate excuses and do everything that you can do, everything within your own power to increase your own situation. But I'm also saying that once...
See, that right there seems like a box check. right? That seems like a box checks to avoid the criticism that, you're telling people to fail, right? Because 98% of the time it's dominant society, dominant society, dominant society. And I'm going to utter this sentence about I'm telling you that you got to do everything you can do. Well, what is that? There's no exploratory there. There's no exposition there, right? It's just that sentence. And now you can't accuse me of doing, not saying it. But the bulk of the content is dominant society, dominant society, dominant society.
Once you get to a place of prominence, then it's also incumbent upon you to address issues that you faced in order to make it better for other people.
Again, what are those issues? Right? What are those issues? Right? If you're, if you grew up here in the SWATs and you ended up here, right, in Sandy Springs, what issues did you face? Right? What issues did I face growing up in the hood and then living in a house on the intercoastal in Florida? What issues did I face that were maybe unique to being black? None. Right? I made it harder on myself at times. I had to, hey, what's up, Winthrop? And I have done everything, man. I have been at the, what they call that thing? Hire right, hire ready, or labor ready. Been there at 5 a.m. when they open with my boots on because I needed some money and I needed to get some work, right? So I'm going there since I'm not an illegal alien. I'm not in Home Depot's parking lot. I'm at labor ready with my boots on at 5 a.m. looking for work. So I've done it all, man. I've done it all. And what I do, I just went to community college and got some job training. Community college is everywhere in America. There isn't a major city without it. Matter of fact, there are a lot of small cities that have multiple community colleges. Right? You go get trained for the best skill that you can, most profitable skill you can handle, and then go do it. And then what do? Don't have kids. Don't have kids out of wedlock. Right? Get married, then have kids. Poof. Right? You're not going to see some huge story of hurdling over the dominance, jumping over the dominant society's hurdles. Who is doing that? Nobody's doing that shit. You want to be a diesel tech? Go to community college. You want to get a start in IT? Go to community college. Matter of fact, now it's even easier. I mean, you can go to Udemy. You know what? I pay for Udemy. I have the unlimited subscription to Udemy. It's $30 a month. It has been invaluable. $360 a year for unlimited training. So even at 50 years old, it was, hey, do you want to, as already a subject matter expert in one niche field that was paying me well, I could see the writing on the wall that this was going to be less valuable. So I said, hey, I need to take up AWS. And how do I get trained for that? How do I learn that? How do I learn GitLab? Just went to Udemy, $30 a month. But apparently you ain't got no boots, so you can't subscribe to Udemy. You need RFK to give you a laptop or something. So Udemy is within reach for you.
That come behind you, in particular for black men and boys. That's what I'm most concerned about. That's the group I'm most concerned about. Black people in general, black men and boys in particular. So I address issues that I address with respect to a lack of resources for black men and boys. Not because I was whining, crying, and complaining when I was being opposed, but because I was triumphant fighting against those things.
Exactly.
But that I also saw that not because I was whining, crying, and complaining when I was being opposed, but because I was triumphant fighting against those things, but that I also...
Man, what things? I would love to know what things. Would absolutely love to know the specifics of what things.
Saw that there were things that were being pressed against me and other folks like me, other folks that, you know, I had lots of, you know, folks that have...
Hey, and Thai City, absolutely, right? They use industry standard certifications, leave you with hours and certifications you can actually use in the field. Matter of fact, I looked up community colleges in South Carolina, and because they opened that Boeing plant in South Carolina, their community colleges have aviation specific curriculum, right? Because once Boeing moved, subsidiary industries moved to South Carolina as well. So the community colleges adapted to that market and started teaching them about aviation, right? So 100%, you know, the resources, you know, are right there.
That have been very successful. And in our conversations, I take notes on the same sorts of things that they face, same sorts of issues that they face.
Okay. Hey, the only reason I would go to college university is for networking at this point, but I can make networks other ways. 100. Guess who got me my first job in IT? Guess who got me my first job in IT? A fellow Marine. Wasn't black. See, you control your own environment and you control your own network, right? And that's another thing I hear from the loser mindset blacks is, well, you know, white people they just hire who they like, you know, the people, and black people can't do that, you know, which is horseshit. Matter of fact, the job I got, so my first job in IT, Marine, the job I got that destroyed imposter syndrome for me, right? Working with a Fortune 500 company, making 6 figures. That job, another Marine, right? So you control your environment and you control your own network if you don't have slave morality. If you do, just die. Just sit in a gutter with no boots and die.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. But again, you know, as long as you have people like this, the Roland Martins of the world, the race hustlers, the Al Sharptons, the Ben Crumps, okay? As long as you have these people that are considered to be thought leaders within this country, within the black community, yeah, this is always gonna be a problem, right? This is always gonna be a problem because they have a vested interest in making sure that black people have this victimhood mentality, because without it, they wouldn't be able to make money, right? They wouldn't be able to make money. They'd be out of business. They'd be out of a job, okay? So, hey, RK was 100% right. He didn't say anything wrong. And this performative outrage from Roland Martin is silly. I mean, he's really embarrassing himself after this election, after being paid by Kamala Harris to shield on her behalf. He just continues to...
What's happening, Chikwa?
Go lower and lower and lower in regards to humiliating himself. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.
Okay, so I still think that there are, you know, and I'm noticing, you know, I'm looking at the chat, and
yeah, I was active in the chat. What else? Let me see what I said. Come on, man. Dang. It's not loading. No, Deacon Dave. Share and subscribe. Share and subscribe.
There's a very kind of there's
oh, there it is.
Polarity, right?
There it is. Oh, darn. Yeah, there we go. Anubis 100% because slave. Oh.
So the bootstrap bros, they don't like an aspect of my argument, but the brothers on the other, the race hustle bros, I'm not calling you race hustlers. I just wanted to have something that I can put on the other side. But the race hustle bros, they have an issue with what I'm saying on the other side of it. My position is a middle of the road position. It's a gray area position. I'm not binary on this. I see aspects on both sides of this. Yeah, I know what Webster Papadopoulos. I'm just, but you have to have like some extreme polarities, right? But what makes that somewhat useful, especially on the bootstrap bro side of this, is that there doesn't seem to be any room for any nuance, for any actually addressing the issue of what has created these issues in the Black community. So if you're saying, hey, the biggest issue is that the dads aren't around, and the biggest issue is that the mom doesn't read to the kids in X, Y, and Z, and Keisha's in charge, well, who put Keisha in charge? And Slick Rick, I don't know.
Bro, Keisha been in charge, bro. What are we talking about? See, that's the thing. Okay, here. Let me just add this in. Got to come back to this. All right. Got to come back to this. No. Subscribe. Oh, darn it. Come on. Locus. Okay. So here's the key thing. All right. This is a study on Black men's academic status, right? Now, altogether a positive article, right? 2.5 million Black men are in the upper class, right? Starts out there. What is the upper class? Is the top third of income percentile. Not outliers. But here's the thing: what is fueling their success, right? So, for example, 59 Cent, using data from National Longitudinal Survey of Youth, 1979, that tracks Black men from their teenage years to midlife, we find that majority of upper income Black men in their 50s today are from humble roots. For example, 59% were lower income when they were teenagers and young adults. And about half of them grew up outside of an intact two-parent family. Yet these men made it into the upper class despite the challenges they faced through 30 plus years of life. What paths did they take to the top? Since we all, interesting. We identified 3 major factors that are linked to financial success of Black men in midlife today: education, work, and marriage. What? You mean graduate from high school, get some job training, go to college, work, steady income, and get married? What? Black men who have a college degree, a full-time job, or a spouse are much more likely than their peers to end up in upper income bracket as 50-something men. About half of Black men with a bachelor's or higher degree have made it to the top income by age 50, compared with only 14% of high school graduates and 22% of Black men with some college education. And more than 3 in 10 married Black men, regardless of whether they are in their first marriage or not, are in the upper income group, compared with only 6% of never married Black men. In a multivariate analysis that includes a range of factors, education, work, marriage are highly predictive of Black men's economic success. Get an education, work steadily, and get married? What? It's crazy talk. Moreover, a number of early life experiences are associated with Black men's elevated odds of being financially successful. Here it is. Black men who served in the military or attended church regularly as young adults are more likely to have made it to the upper class by age 50. The impact of military experience on Black men's success seems to work through its links with Black men's work and marital status. That is, Black men who served in the military early in life are more likely to be working full-time and to be married later in life. This is the key. Having a sense of personal agency is also linked to Black men's success. Black men who believed at a young age that they were mostly responsible for their lives rather than outside forces, dominant society, measured by a locus of control scale, are more likely to flourish later in life. What? No. Nah. Can't be. It's nah. So, yeah, I do. Actually, I got to put the router in my office. So, yeah. Right? So the things that you have to overcome, yada yada yada, there's nothing unknown. right? If you're asking open-ended questions, is because you don't want to answer it with the things that are already known and how to succeed. That's it, right? Coming around to constantly put your finger at the dominant society, is just BS. Because what works and what doesn't is already known.
Disagree with that. I don't disagree that the family is involved, but understand also that bootstrap is hyperbolic, and so is race hustle. Okay, they're both hyperbolic. But that's how I'm framing so that we have clear categories. And no, black men did not put Keisha in charge. That's ahistorical.
Man, look, bro. While he talks, I'm going to try to find the picture of who's that guy? Brandon Johnson in Chicago, right? His cabinet is all black women, but he'll tell you that somebody else did it. That the matriarchy is not the natural state of the black community, even though there's tons of books that say so, right? It was not, and like I said, I can accept it if you say, hey, it was slavery, they brought them over here after us. No, I don't think that is Doc's argument. I think Doc's argument is a continual tipping of the scales that has nothing to do with, that is continuous, right? And I don't believe that, because you can go look up, even when there are black male mayors, you are going to find the hand at the switch are black women, right? And we've gone over the Board of Education time and time again, right? And a lot of those are elected positions, and there's no black men keeping black women out of those positions. Just did that just doesn't exist. There, show me an example.
Ahistorical. Okay, because you can't just talk about the last election and that be some that's not the salient point. The salient point would be, who put Keisha in charge in the first place? Who put Keisha in charge in the first place?
Okay, and so I said that there is no evidence of black men voting one way and the white man comes in and elevates Keisha. That didn't happen, right? Just show me that happening, and I'd be like, okay.
That's the point that has to be addressed. That's the point here. Because if you're not willing to address that, you can't get to current day without addressing what got us to current day. Because that's actually going to explain the pathology. That's going to actually explain.
Dude, all the books, Dark Ghetto, there's, the further you research it, you just read the same thing over and over and over again.
Explain that. And I'd argue that what we see today, the seeds of which were there in the beginning. And this is exactly what the dominant society would desire if they want to keep that flow, that constant flow of revenue. I mean, you could fix the issues in the black community almost overnight if they wanted to.
You could fix it overnight if they wanted to. External locus of control.
You could create incentives and counter incentives, just like they created incentives and counter incentives for what it is that we see now. The reason that Keisha chose the state over the father of her kids is because there was incentive to do that.
It's because she could. That same incentive exists for every other group, right? It exists for every other group, but only one group, the gynocracy, took that deal, as noted in Moynihan Scissors.
Now, I'd argue that the incentive wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked if she wasn't put in charge in the first place. So anyhow, yeah, that's not a euphemism. Dominant society is not a euphemism. Yeah, dominant society is not a euphemism. I use that. I use that because if I say white supremacy, or if I say white society, then folks will have an issue with that also, right?
See, that is the evolution of blame, right? First it was the white man, then it became white supremacy. Why? Because people started pointing out, hey, all these black run cities are run by black people, and that is where black people are doing the worst. Then it becomes white supremacy. It has to become more and more nebulous as you see black people running the asylum, so to speak. And now dominant society is yet another evolution from white supremacy. Because, the black woman is the right hand of white supremacy. What? Right? No white people involved whatsoever. Right? That's why I say if it were criminal to be part of the dominant society, you'd never convict anyone. It's always nebulous.
Although that's not exactly what I mean. Dominant society would be whoever the dominant population is.
And here's the thing. See this comment down here? The ethnic groups with the highest marriage rates have the highest median incomes. Poverty is highest in Black America because we're the least married, period. That's why these other groups, as a median, make more than white folks. And that's some hella dominant society, right? Dominant society went ahead and made, where is that? Right. This is what the dominant society did, was make all these other brown people richer than them. Right. Who all have higher marriage rates. Asians have the highest marriage rates. And they have the highest test scores. And they have the highest median income. You see how that works? Look at the lowest married people. Oh. Who's going to force Keisha to get married? I mean, unless you're really talking about cutting benefits, right? That's the only way you're going to do it. The only way to do it is to cut benefits. That's it. And there are plenty of simps out there who'll take a baby mom with 2, 3, 4, 5 kids, right? Just to get patted on the head.
And anyone that aligns with the value system of that society. So that would include the whole multicultural dynamic, which would include those that have been hand selected by that dominant society, just in placed in certain positions to basically execute the will of the dominant society. I would call this dynamic, I call blackface, white liberals in blackface. White liberals in blackface, carrying the water of the white liberal that most of the elite blacks do. I would call that doing the will of the dominant society. That's what I mean when I say that. It's not a euphemism to say dominant society. I mean, I associate with the dominant society. I live adjacent to the dominant society in many aspects, in many ways. But my value system is not that of the dominant society. I'm here. My family's here. Historically not by our choice, but we're doing what we need to do to survive and to thrive like everyone else. I do happen to believe that the United States has the best form of government currently. The best form of government provides the most possibilities for people that don't have anything to actually make something of themselves and to create generational wealth. That's not something that really exists other places. Not in the same way. I would argue that. So it's a good thing that we're in America. But I'm not a member of the dominant society. Just like, I mean, it's interesting because there is a sort of parallel or an analog when you talk about the biblical concept of being in the world but not of.
Well, let's hear from the horse's mouth himself. Who are the dominants and who are the subordinates?
Yeah, I mean, so subordinate society in these days, subordinate society, it's more about value system, and it's more about access to the structure. It's not necessarily those that historically we would call white people. It's those that have plugged into whatever that power structure is. And a challenge that I've presented multiple times that I have with what's called multiculturalism is multiculturalism really is only doing the bidding of the dominant society. It's all people that have basically bent the knee to whatever the value system of the dominant structure is, and they have adopted the value system of the dominant structure. And they've been sort of hand selected to represent that structure. It's never going to be.
Are you part of that structure?
I mean, that's a tricky question. I am not. I suppose I am as a de facto. I mean, I worked for a big public white institution, and so to that extent, I suppose I am. But I think most people are not aware of the way that the structure works, and they think of it as a bunch of individuals, whereas it's not really a bunch of individuals. It's really a structure that has sort of hand selected other people that think and speak the way that they want you to think and speak. Academia would be a good example.
Of it. Being in a particular environment, but not being of that environment.
See, and that goes to the bona fides argument. Well, I'm more pure because I believe this thing. That makes me not of the dominant society. Yes, I'm a high earner. Yes, my kids go to private school. Yes, I'm married. But I have a different motivation. I acknowledge the dominant society and what it's doing to, black folks. That makes me, not part of it. What? Know who you're like? This is for anybody. White, black, whatever. You know who you're like? You're like your neighbors. That's who you're like. Who you are most like are your neighbors, period. You have similar incomes. You have similar educations. You have similar values. Matter of fact, exactly. Right? Because look, there was, who was it? Oh, okay. So this stream we had, this was after they had the shooting up in Buffalo. The white guy had the shooting up in Buffalo, and it was basically the gulag versus everybody on this stream. And one of the guys who was, they hunting us, over the course of the stream, actually the guy has a really good story. I'm not going to say who it is, but this guy has a really good story, really powerful. I think it helped a lot of people, man. But he's like, yeah, I'm a 6-figure trucker and I own real estate. So I was like, I asked him, where do you live? All right. And he immediately spazzed out. And his response was, well, I be around black people. Y'all don't even be around black people. I be around black people. And what that told me was he didn't live around black people because he was at a certain socioeconomic level and he lived in a nice either suburb or nice urban enclave because he freaked out when I asked him that question. All right, know who you're most like? Your neighbors. That's exactly who you're like. right? And as far as the dominant society, and let's take let's take the culture question, right? Let's take the culture question. So you have your wealthy blacks over here, right? And you have South Memphis, which we know is a S-hole, right? What do these people have in common? Like, let's take the obvious out, right? Food and music, right? Let's take that out. What else do they have in common? If you could cross-tab marriage rates, right, they would look even more foreign. Then you cross-tab education, they would look even more foreign, right? Then you cross-tab raised in a two-parent home, right? Even more, right? From a question of culture, right? And you pick specific things, cultural things that are unique to Black people, and that Black people do more than anybody else. What do you see? And that's an open question. Like, what I see is 70% out of marriage birth rate, right? So if you're in a nuclear family and you're having all your kids in a marriage, you do not share that particular cultural trait with the majority of Black people, right? But I bet you live around a lot of other people who are married with children, though. I bet you that. And if the average income, you could be single. If your average income is whatever, you're making 80 grand, 100 grand, you're a tradesman, you're making 100 grand. Where do you live? Do you live over here? Or do you live over here? Where do you live? You live around other people that are like you that are also making 100 grand, right? And if you're single, you probably live around single people who are making 100 grand. So you probably live in a nicer apartment maybe. Or if you got a little like duplex or whatever, you live in a nicer area. So the things that encompass Black culture and unite people outside of food and music are what? If you've adopted the culture of the quote unquote dominant society, what is your culture? Because, this whole quote unquote Black agenda doesn't work. Because Black people are already integrated. I mean, if I'm living in Memphis, I'm living over here. You talk about food deserts and whatnot. What are you talking about? I shop at Whole Foods. I shop at Fresh Market. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Right. So anyhow, we have gotten to the end. Let's play this little comedy here.
You're right. When you're sitting opposite of Scott Jennings, you got to jump in his ass. You got to jump in his ass. Jump in his ass. His ass. You got to push back immediately. Jump in his ass.
Okay. All right. That's that was an unfortunate clip of
all right. All right. So, okay, that was the pushback on that one. Then there was another one, which so much to. Okay, I think we're at the end of the show. I'm gonna kill it here because Michigan's playing Ohio State, and I gotta go. OH the chat. Go Buckeyes. Beat Michigan. That is all. All right. Enjoy y'all Saturdays. Enjoy your family. Right. Definitely take some time off during these holidays to reflect, coming to another year. And I am blessed and I am thankful to be where I am today And it is in no small part to opportunities afforded me by this country. All right. Thank you very much, Marine Corps, for giving me what I needed, as well as camaraderie and fellowship and future business opportunities that I have exploited. Thank you. Just past Thanksgiving, thank you for my family. Thank you for my beautiful wife. Thank you for my mother. Oh, and thank you for my father. My father, the best parenting my father did was confront me about having a long pinky nail. This was back in the day when, you would see imagery on like Miami Vice. Some guy with a long pinky nail would dip his pinky nail in some cocaine and, they sniff it and it's like, and I had a long pinky nail, but I had a long pinky nail just because I didn't cut it. It hadn't broken off yet. So it was like, I didn't have one because I was trying to imitate that ethos. But I didn't tell my father that. He was just like, you cut that nail. And I was like, hey, all right, no problem. So that was some of the, that was the best parenting. I think that is something that stuck with me for real. Like even the imagery of impropriety is not cool. So, yeah, I did not, Pops was not having it. And I didn't say anything. I didn't say, hey, it's not that. It hadn't broken off yet because I didn't cut my nails. They just broke and I peeled them off. But yeah, man, that was funny. So yeah, thank you to my dad. I miss him. He's gone. You will miss your dad when he's gone, even if you didn't have one, the phrase as far as the external locus of control and internal locus of control, I don't know how many times I heard, if it is to be, it's up to me. So no one was coming to save you. You had to do it on your own. And the funny thing about that is when you have that attitude, there will people who will line up to help you in life because they see you doing it and they've observed you and said, hey, I can help you. And that's happened throughout my life. Why? Because I wasn't sitting around acting like I had nothing. I just went and made it happen for myself. And then people would come along and say, hey, there's an opportunity over here. When it knocked, I answered and didn't turn it down. Right? Just showing up is most of the game, man. So, yep. Be thankful. Enjoy your families. And I'm out.